everyone. Welcome to Switchblade Sisters Social Club, the true crime podcast where two friends exploit their worst fears for your entertainment.
You're welcome.
I'm Dee, a writer and podcaster.
And I'm Isla from Criminally Good Books, a true crime and crime fiction bookshop in York.
Follow us on all the socials.
Except for X, obviously.
Or have a look at our website, switchbladesisterssocialclub.com.
Check them out for all our latest episodes, events, deals, and other weird stuff.
Listeners' discretion advised. Hello.
Hello, you found your record button.
I found the record button. It's fairly early. I just want to say that you are wearing your press jumper. This is a jumper by Wear the Piece. Sorry, dyslexic in me always reads it different. Yeah, so it's blue jumper with press written across the top, like in the style of the press vests that journalists wear, with a cartoon, like a drawing of a watermelon on the sleeves. And it is in honor of the Palestinian journalists, the nearly 300, I think at this point, journalists that have died. We know that international journalists are not allowed into Gaza. So those Palestinian journalists are the ones that are helping us get stuff out, as well as all the brave people posting on socials. So the fact that they are being slaughtered is a tragedy. And I don't know if it's technically a crime against humanity, but it's definitely morally a crime against humanity. Yeah. So you're wearing yours because you were jelly of mine.
I was jelly of yours, and it's got like a little hood, but it's so comfortable.
It's
got
so
like fleece
comfy.
lining.
Yeah. And also I got an email from the company the other day. I don't know if they are Palestinian or just very supportive, but I think I might be wrong, but it was an impressive amount. They are donating a lot of their profits to Palestine. They'd sent something like $100,000 to the region. So that is phenomenal.
I might be wrong, but I'm sure it's split in with different charities on the ground. So I'm sure like Medical Aid for Palestinians is getting some of it, because I'm sure I saw that, but I can't remember the other. But I always am really careful with any organization that I buy from, and like Wear the Piece looked like the best one to get like money on the ground.
And I've confirmed I have a couple of their items of clothing. They are so cozy, comfy, cool. So go check them out. We've talked about them before. Also, next week I have my Murder on Tap event, and I'm really excited. At this point of recording, it's almost sold out. So I'm hoping.
Yay!
Sometimes we add extra dates.
I know.
The option of doing that. So fingers crossed.
Be there. I would love to be there.
But like with CrimeCon a couple of weeks ago, I just love our events where we actually get to go face to face with some of our listeners and stuff, because they're always adorable. I know you get this more having the bookshop. You've got more face to face contact with people.
Yeah, but a lot of people, like very few people that I know, like listen to the podcast that come in, or at least maybe they do, but they don't kind of mention it. And it's usually the regular ones that like, I was listening to the last episode. So I don't speak to people that often, but when I do, I remember them.
But I am a self-employed, work from home, childless person who has very little excuse or need to leave the house. So
for some people, that is like their dream position. They're like, oh my God, this is amazing. But you're making it sound like it's bad.
I perfectly crafted my life to have it in this way, but it means I don't have that much interaction with other humans unless I want to, and I want those interactions to be wonderful. And that's what it is when I go and do the events at Brewery Market in Church Street, which is amazing. Hello, Linda. You are awesome.
Tell us about the event. Like how long, for someone that's not been, what happens when they arrive? What do they get? And like, how long's the event? And do they dress up? Do they dress up in cool clothing?
Well, we have different themed ones throughout the year. So this one obviously is a little bit dressy uppy because it's the week of Halloween. Starts around 7-ish, finishes around closing time. So it's a good few hours. And you arrive and you get yourself a little drink or whatever. And then when it starts, I think we start around 7:30, 8 o'clock. Sorry, I'm not good with dates and times. I'm always there on time.
That's okay.
Yeah. And then you sit down, you get your first taster of beer with the snack pairing. And like I've said before, we downplay how many snacks you get. You basically get a full-on meal by the end of it, you know? Because Linda's super generous, but she's so good at pairing really fun flavors of food with these beers. And also, I will say, even if you don't like beer, unique and interesting beers. And I'm not a beer drinker, and I still like it because I get to appreciate the different flavors and different kinds of stuff going on. Yeah, so it's quite fun, even if you're not a habitual beer drinker, let's say. And she obviously sells other drinks. She's normally got ciders and meads and so forth. So you get your first taster with the snack while I tell the story related to that beer.
I thought you were going to say related to the snack.
To the snack. Sometimes, but basically, sometimes the link is tenuous and sometimes it's a little bit more obvious. And sometimes there's no link at all between the beer and the story because people don't really need it. They just want beer and stories, don't they? And then, then you get another beer and another story. Then we normally have a break. We have normally cool, like photo booth type setup, like prop setup. So we normally have a mugshot wall where you can take a picture with your crime that you've committed, or this one is going to be a little bit different because it's sort of celebrity crimes and cocktail beers. So we're going kind of glam Hollywood theme. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, so I'm going to be dressing up in like ball gown, but maybe zombie ball gown. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine you in normal ball gown. I mean,
well, you can because we've been to a formal event.
I was just about to say like formal ones where your mum's made like beautiful dresses for you. Yeah, okay, I can.
And it will be one of those beautiful dresses, but I might be a zombie gala attendee. And then we have 2 more tasters with snacks and 2 more stories. And then I always mix it up a little bit. Sometimes there's a quiz, sometimes there's a test, sometimes you know what I mean? It's just fun. It's just
How long do the stories last? Is it like 15 minutes each one or 10?
Yeah, probably. But, there's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of like chat. There's a lot of, me, sidebars and tangents.
There's a moth.
Bright light. So, so it's just super fun. And I'm really honored because I have like regulars that have been to basically every single one, which I am honored by.
Is it just because they're regulars at the pub and they're there every single day? And it happens to be that you're in that pub as well. Just saying.
I'm going to ask Linda, are they here every other day? Are they here to see me? But so come along. We are talking, you and I, about our live events because we want to do that.
We're going to do cheese. I don't know what that is. It's like a cheese grommet. I'm just going like that.
Cheese. Yeah, we've got some different ideas and different locations that we might do events. So we're planning, and you guys will be the first to know. But now I want to start the crime stuff.
Please, yes.
Last week was super heavy, lots of tears, because I did a case set in Gaza and used it as an excuse to talk about the entire history of Palestine and the conflict.
It's very good for people that don't know the backstory. And I think a lot of people don't, Dee. And like, why should they know if they've not been exposed to it? But now everyone's exposed to it. And it's a really good way of people finding out.
Exactly. And I was toying with the idea of doing like a bonus episode to cover the issue and the conflict because we were getting so many questions. And because obviously I'm Palestinian and I work on the issue. So I feel like I'm in a place where I can talk about it and hopefully explain it to people that want to know more. But that's where the idea came to sort of put it in our regular content framed within the context of this one horrific crime, which is the murder of Rachel Corrie. So yes, apologies, because that one was really tough. It was tough on us and probably tough on you. This one, I don't want to say it's more lighthearted. There's just a little bit, there's less death than a genocide. But I heard about this case in passing on another podcast about another case. And I was like, back up. Wait. I have follow-up questions, because it was like, I'm sorry, what did they say? Obviously, I went on a little rabbit hole and then I was like, this is a perfect case for us to cover. So I'm going to cover the ghost ship Bärbel, a high seas mystery from 1993.
This sounds so intriguing. What can you say that title again?
The ghost ship Bärbel. Bärbel is the name. A high seas mystery from 1993. Ooh. Now, I want to use this as an opportunity to talk about the best opening scene, apart from maybe cliffhanger, of a movie. That's me doing the arm with the muscles bulging. But there's a film called Ghost Ship. horrendous film. But the opening scene, I still think about it, and I haven't seen the film since it like came out. All right, so back to the case. Imagine this. A cargo ship drifts aimlessly off the coast of Denmark. Flames flicker on its decks, and not a soul is in sight. On board are pools of blood, signs of a struggle, and evidence that someone has unsuccessfully tried to burn the whole ship down. So it sounds like the start of a nautical thriller, or like I'm telling you the story of like the Mary Celeste, which is another case that since I learned about it in school has always fascinated me. But this really happened, and it happened like fairly recently, August 1993. Yeah. So this was the German coaster MS Bärbel, and it was found abandoned in the North Sea under these very conditions. Even more bizarrely, a lone survivor turned up nearby in a lifeboat. This is a young Russian sailor named Andrei Lapa. He was carrying 60,000 Deutsche Marks in cash, which I have to admit, I tried to find out how much that was worth now, but between converting it to pounds and then to euros and then pounds and then the date, I couldn't. But it's a significant amount of money. He looked disturbingly undistressed, given that his 5 shipmates had vanished.
Okay, so there's only 6 of them in the boat, so it wasn't like a massive crew.
No, it wasn't a huge boat. It's about 6 of, well, it was 6 of them. 5 of them disappeared, and just this one guy on a lifeboat nearby. So was it a mutiny? Was it piracy? Or did Lapin slaughter 5 men and get away with it? So today I'm going to tell you the chilling tale of the Bärbel ghost ship. So I want you to buckle up, or rather batten down the hatches, because it's as dark and twisty as the North Sea itself. The voyage begins. I don't know what about it being a boat thing made me go really storytelling with this, right?
Yeah, no, I love it. Please go like "arr" and all that kind of stuff, please, wherever you can.
Wherever I can, wherever, I was going to say wherever it's relevant. Nah, I'll do it anyway. Let's start with the ship and the crew before things went horribly wrong. The Bärbel was a small German coastal freighter. So it's 55-meter long boat built in the late 1980s. So it wasn't that old a boat at the time. 55 meters is like not a huge.
That seems quite a lot to me, but
I mean, yeah, but you know, it's a decent sized boat, but it needs 6 people to, you know,
man it.
So Henrik was the owner as well as the captain. And in fact, Henrik Telkman had named the ship after his wife. So Bärbel is his wife's name. It's a pretty cool name, Bärbel. But this is a touching detail that will soon take on an eerily tragic significance. In August 1993, the Bärbel was chartered to carry a load of rapeseed from London to Rostock in northern Germany, which weirdly I have a connection with because my cousin, you know, my amazing opera singer cousin, Lisa Mostyn. Lisa Mostyn.
So good.
So good. She was based there for a while. Yes, it's in northern Germany. It's on the coast. So they're going from London to North Germany with this boatload of rapeseed. It departed from London around the 14th or 15th of August, 1993. And like I said, it had 6 people on board. Captain Telkman, who was 50 years old and was clearly an experienced seaman. Sorry, shouldn't laugh. And 5 other crew members, including 4 sailors from the ex-Soviet Union, like Lapin, who was 28 from Kaliningrad, and a cook. The journey wasn't supposed to be long. It's only a few days long journey. So on Sunday morning, 15th of August, 1993, as the Bärbel cleared the mouth of the River Thames, so it had gone along the Thames into the Channel and then would have gone up north to the North Sea. Yeah. Captain Telkman phoned his wife back in Germany to report that, in quotation marks, everything is fine on board. He was expected to be home by that evening. So a very quick journey. So literally like they're only 2 days journey. I have no idea how long boats take to get places these days. But he didn't arrive that night. And so his wife grew concerned. Then Monday, 16th of August, calls to the ship were going unanswered. So clearly someone from one of the harbors, I guess, was trying to reach the boats to see, where the hell are you guys?
Where's our rapeseed?
Where's our rapeseed? We need it urgently. By the 17th of August, so that's Tuesday, authorities in Germany, Denmark, Britain, the Netherlands, and even Norway were on alert for this overdue boat, the Bärbel. So obviously all of those countries along the potential route of this boat were alerted that there's a missing boat. Keep your eyes out. Rescue planes started scouring the shipping lanes of the North Sea, but they just couldn't find this boat. This boat, vanished. Then Wednesday, 18th of August, so this is very quick turnaround in the story, 2 Danish fishing boats working about 80 to 100 miles off Denmark's west coast, so in the North Sea, spotted a sight at around 10:45 a.m. They saw not one, but 2 empty life rafts just bobbling along in the waves. So obviously that's unsettling. Why are there empty life rafts? Well, one was completely empty. The other one, the fisherman found a lone man. He was alive and he was strangely really calm. This was Andrei Lapa, the Bärbel's junior crewman, who was now apparently its only crewman. The fisherman soon discovered the Bärbel herself drifting nearby without a soul on board. The fishermen climb on the deck, perhaps hoping to find the others, but the scene they encountered was straight out of a horror film. Inside the ship, there were bloodstains everywhere, in the passageways, on the deck, especially in the engine workshop area, just frickin' everywhere. Someone had tried to scrub some of the blood away with water, sort of smearing it around, which probably made it even messier. The captain's cabin was smashed up and ransacked, and the ship's safe was empty on the floor. And then there were even some gruesome things lying around that looked like human remains. So hair, skin, fragments of skull, maybe. So it was evident that there was
ferocious attack.
Yeah, a massive fight that had happened. And if that wasn't alarming enough, they also found signs of arson, as I said. Diesel fuel had been splashed around and ignited in at least 3 different spots. But those fires, none of the fires actually took hold, so the ship didn't burn away.
Oh, someone's been a bit sloppy, haven't they, Dee? I can't wait.
So the thought of trying to set fire to something that's in water seems bizarre to me, but obviously it must be possible. But clearly someone's trying to cover as much evidence as possible. So in short, the Bärbel was a floating, horrific crime scene, devoid of its crew, but hopefully soaked in evidence that would help explain what truly horrific thing had occurred there. So meanwhile, Lapa was picked up and flown by Danish rescue helicopters to the port of Esbjerg on the Danish coast. So he's been taken to Denmark. When the helicopter arrived, Lapa initially refused to get on the helicopter, saying oh, this is unnecessary. I don't need to be rescued, blah, blah, blah. It's what are you going to just stay? I guess he was just on this fisherman's boat and he's I can just hang out with them until they go back. No need to rush me back to, for a checkup or whatever. And they're no, you're either a victim or a murderer. Either way, let's get you back. Yeah, let's check you over, et cetera, et cetera. So once they safely arrive on land, the Danish police obviously begin questioning Lapa. His first statements, Lapa denied knowing anything about what happened to the others. He claimed that there had been some kind of accident, a fire on board, and that he alone escaped as the rest of the crew drowned in the chaos. Almost right from the start, investigators did not believe him. The physical evidence on the boat told a very different story to that. In quotes from a Danish police spokesperson, "We suspect the Russian of murdering his shipmates." And that's what they announced on the 19th of August, so only a few days after the boat was found. And they claimed that he been responsible for their deaths and then tried to cover it up. In quotations, we found bloodstains on the ship and proof that someone had tried to wipe away the evidence. And there were signs of 3 unsuccessful attempts to set the vessel on fire. In other words, this looked like a deliberate crime scene, a deliberate crime, possibly a violent spree, followed by an attempt to destroy the evidence. And who was left standing amid the carnage? Only Andrei Lapa, who was found with a tidy little sum of cash. And I think I remember reading somewhere, we're talking like tens of thousands of pounds equivalent, what he got found with. So not an insignificant amount. And as we saw, the safe was left open in the captain's cabin. So
yeah, and the captain's cabin was absolutely smashed up. That's not something that the captain would do. That would be someone that had it in for the captain and wanted to get something out of it.
And if he's saying, oh, there was a fire and I was the only one that managed to escape, and you had time to go and ransack the safe before you were the only one that was able to escape, you know? He didn't seem to be grieving over his lost comrades. I have to admit, I don't know how well he knew his shipmates, you know, because I imagine sometimes you have worked with people before and they're friends, and other times you're on a boat.
Yeah, just thrown together.
And you've never met them before. So.
And he's the junior one, right? He's the youngest one.
He's the youngest one. Also, people grieve in different ways. So, but he was definitely acting odd. He did not seem bothered. Even if you'd never met those people before you stepped on the ship 2 days ago, you would have thought you'd be traumatized anyways, right? The same day, Danish authorities formally charged 28-year-old Lapa with 5 counts of murder for the captain and the 4 crewmen, and 1 count of arson for trying to set fire to the boat. It was an extraordinary accusation because they were claiming that this one man killed 5 people that were presumably fit, healthy men if they're working on ships, right? The motive was unclear, but there was this fact that he had been found with 60,000 Deutsche Marks. Even if it's in the tens of thousands, that doesn't feel like enough.
I'm looking this up, Dee.
Well, I've got here, 60,000 Deutsche Marks, $35,000. But I don't know if that's $35,000 now or then, but in any case, do you know what I mean? That doesn't seem like enough money to warrant killing 5 people.
Exactly.
And in a way that you are very obviously going to be the perpetrator. It just seems bizarre to me. So at first, Lapa insisted that the money was his. It was supposedly savings he'd brought along. And then he later told this very specific backstory that he said the cash came from selling traditional Russian religious icons. But investigators also learned from Captain Telkman's wife, Bärbel, who the ship is named after, that Lapa was wearing the Captain Telkman's wristwatch when he was rescued.
That's a telltale sign, isn't it?
Yeah. So all of this evidence is mounting against Lapa, and even he realizes that the story he's given is not holding water. The fact that he didn't know anything, that there was a fire, he just ran away, and he was the only one that survived, and he didn't know what happened to the others, blah, blah, blah. It just was not ringing true. So he changed his story.
Okay, because the fire that supposedly went on didn't catch. So how could he be escaping a fire that didn't?
Yeah. And again, it didn't explain all the blood. It didn't explain the ransacking. It was clear the fire was done after some other incident to cover the incident rather than this fire happened that scared him away on a lifeboat. So he realized his story wasn't holding. And this is where you start getting the confusion. He clearly has something to hide, but what is it? Is it the murder of all of his shipmates, or is it something less bad? And I'm going to let you tell me your opinion at the end of this, right?
Okay.
So he revised his account to Danish police. The Danish police are clearly investigating it because he was found by Danish people off of the coast of Denmark. And so was the boat. So it's technically, I guess, happened in Denmark. So this story is jaw-dropping. According to Lapa, mutiny and murder had erupted aboard the Bärbel, but he wasn't the culprit. He was the hero who managed to survive it. So Lapa is now alleging that shortly after leaving London, a fight broke out between Captain Telkman and some of the crew over unpaid wages and working conditions, and that the argument spiraled out of control. 2 of the Russian crewmen, Lapa claimed, turned violent and attacked the captain with axes, brutally killing him, and also murdering 2 other sailors who tried to intervene. So 2 of the crewmen were killing everyone, basically. And so in this version, Lapa is not the aggressor, but he was an unlucky bystander who just wanted to stay alive.
So did he say who was fighting out of the ones that were left?
2 of the Russian crewmen, presumably he named them. The 2 mutineers, it's a great word, isn't it? Then supposedly came for Lapa, threatening to kill him next. So he armed himself and struck first. So now a desperate fight follows in which Lapa kills both of the axe-wielding mutineers in self-defense, using their own weapons against them. So these 2 Russians who managed to kill 3 people, Lapa is somehow managing to kill both of them. When the frenzied attacks were finally over, all 5 of Lapa's shipmates were dead. 2 of them he had killed, and 3 had been killed by those 2. And he was the only one left standing. So now at this point in the story, you might wonder, if events really happened that way, why didn't Lapa radio for help or sail straight to port and explain the situation? When he was picked up, why didn't he tell the truth? Well, according to him, he panicked. And it's like, according to him, he had 2 days-ish between this happening and being found. So you rarely panic for 2 days solid. I don't know.
I mean, maybe he went through giving him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's gone through all the way that it would appear to people that picked him up. And he's worried that he killed 2 people and how that would look. So the ship was on fire and I escaped and all the evidence would be gone. So maybe he just thought it'd be better if I did that. Maybe he didn't know the law. Like maybe it was self-defense, but he didn't know that it might have been okay. Don't know.
Yeah.
But why grab the money? Like what? I mean, so he's saying that he set it on fire though, right?
Well, no, we haven't come to the fire bit.
Okay.
We haven't come to the fire bit. So he supposedly panicked, et cetera, partly because he was like a junior sailor on a German ship who would believe that he'd been forced to kill 2 of his colleagues in self-defense after they'd already massacred everyone. So he was worried no one would believe his crazy story. So he tried to erase evidence. He dumped all the bodies overboard. So he's confessing to this. He didn't kill the innocent people. He only killed the mutineers. But he says he dumped all of the bodies overboard, weighting some of them with like metal and so forth, hoping they'd never be found. And in fact, he did a good job because 4 out of the 5 bodies were never recovered. Only Captain Telkman's corpse was later found about a month later by fishermen. Then Lapa admits that he splashed diesel and set multiple fires in an attempt to cover up this crime. But those fires, as we said, failed to consume the vessel. So he finally abandoned the ship, taking the life rafts and conveniently the ship's cash from the captain's safe. He later claimed he took the money with noble intent to deliver it to the victims' families as compensation. Spoiler alert! He did not, in fact, hand it over to any families. He kept every last mark until it was taken from him as evidence. He was planning on supposedly sharing the money with the families of the victims, but the money was taken. So then Lapa drifts along in this raft until he was found by the Danish fishermen. Danish police and international observers were understandably skeptical, because now he's saying there was a mutiny on a 2-day boat trip that I somehow managed to intercept and, kill the mutineers, even though they were wielding axes.
And they killed 3 men.
Yeah, they managed to kill 3 men. I managed to kill them single-handedly, even though they were holding axes. Then I panicked, so I threw them overboard and tried to set fire to the ship and then lied about what happened. And now I'm telling you the truth because I could tell you can tell that I'm lying.
I'm sure the fishermen and the authorities had lots of follow-up questions.
Yes. So this story requires us to believe that two crewmen spontaneously decide to hack up their shipmates with axes for a paycheck dispute, only to be heroically killed by Lapin, who then irrationally tried to cover up the whole thing, despite supposedly being innocent and the hero of the tale. So it's kind of the convoluted story you'd cook up if you had, for example, brutally murdered your entire crew for money and needed an alternative explanation. And so investigators in both Denmark and Germany poked a lot of holes in the story. For one thing, the timing seemed odd. The Bärbel had only been at sea a matter of hours when the alleged mutiny occurred. Why would Lapin, if he were the culprit, choose to slaughter everyone almost immediately after leaving port as well? A risky move, given that the ship's absence would be noticed really quickly. But conversely, if the mutiny scenario is true, it's an incredibly extreme outcome over something like wages, and Lapin's response, hiding everything, made little sense if he truly acted in self-defense. So it's just fucking bizarre. You go round and round in circles. Yeah, but if this, then why this? Then, you know.
I mean, I can imagine Dee in a situation on like a submarine, for example. You're encased, you're underwater, the tension, like all that testosterone and everything, but not in like a really short boat trip. But you can imagine things with, and I don't know the answer to this, but you could imagine if there's like testosterone, if there's mental health problems, if there's gambling problems or debts or
if they're just
alcohol
criminals,
problems,
if they're violent criminals.
if someone looks at you the wrong way and you have been, I don't know, off your face and like weed or something, and you're, anxious, and you can imagine people lashing out in like certain ways. There's lots of things that can cause conflict. But 5 people dying is like one massive, massive mutiny situation.
If this story is true, obviously Lapin would have done better not trying to hide the evidence, because now you're hiding evidence actually that your story is true, and not like changing your story always looks bad, doesn't it? And we know, we've heard loads of times where people have lied to the police, lied about their initial stories for different reasons. Either they're hiding something else, an affair, an addiction,
protecting someone, or
protecting whatever. So there are innocent people that do lie about their stories and change their stories further down the line. This one is just so fucking bizarre and unbelievable, though. But one of the other crucial factors is Lapin's own demeanor. So he just did not seem bothered. But this I'm struggling to understand as well, because it's like, even if he was the perpetrator, he killed 5 people. How are you so unbothered by this, Like, he had not a scratch on him.
Oh, well, hang on. I've got a follow-up question there, which is, how could you kill 2 men and not have any scratches on you?
How can you kill 5 men and not have any scratches on you? And also the fact that he wasn't even that bothered about being rescued. He's like, no, I'm fine, guys. Don't worry, I'm chilling. So these are not exactly the behaviors you would expect from an innocent man shaken by trauma, left at sea or whatever. They are, however, things one might expect if a man had meticulously executed a plan and was simply waiting to be picked up.
Oh, I was just thinking, was he waiting to be picked up by someone else?
So this is now obviously what the police are thinking, that this is a premeditated plan. Danish authorities detained Lapin and soon made arrangements to hand the case over to Germany, since the Bärbel was a German-flagged vessel and the deceased captain was German. So this is one thing that I absolutely love. So, there's a TV series called Cruise Ship Killers, I think. Cruise Ship Killers? Cruise Ship Murders. And it's phenomenal because it's I find it fascinating because
on Crime and Investigation Channel.
I think so, yeah. So basically, when you have a crime on a boat, you have so many different jurisdictions that come into play. The country that the boat belongs to, where the crime actually took place, who the victim was, where they were from, will probably want to get involved, where the nearest port is, so that where the boat ends up first, which is part of the reason why so many people get let off when they commit crimes in international waters, for example, on boats, because of this various sort of departments that need to work together quite often don't. Quite often there's like conflict of interest between them all or whatever. So I find it fascinating. So they decided that this case was going to be a German case because the boat was German. I won't say the main victim, but the captain of the boat was German. On the 13th of December, 1993, so a few months later, remember the deaths happened in August, Lapa was extradited to Germany, where he was going to face a full criminal trial. By then, he had completely clammed up, and he reportedly refused to speak with investigators at all, after giving this like crazy self-defense story. So he opted to keep his words and his story for the courtroom. So let's go to trial. It began in September 1994, so actually almost a year after.
Oh my gosh, okay.
After he was extradited.
And can I ask where he has been for that period of time?
Presumably, I think he was detained. It was at the district court in Osnabrück in Germany. The prosecution charged him with the 5 counts of murder and attempted arson, and they were looking for a life sentence. The case had no eyewitnesses except for Lapa himself. There was 4 of the bodies were never found. By this point, a month after the deaths, the captain was found, but again, in the water for a month. There was hardly any forensic evidence on the captain's body. The only thing they had were like the bloodstains on the boat and the chaos on the ship. So a lot of it was very, very circumstantial evidence, but the suspicious nature of it all was gripping to everyone involved. So the courtroom drama that unfolded was as strange as everything that preceded it as well. After maintaining silence during his pre-trial detention, so he was detained during that period before the trial started, Lapa now took the stand himself, which, you know, they always say it's not good when you take the stand in your defense because it opens you up to put your foot in it, but also then you have to be cross-examined by the prosecution, which is risky if you're guilty, right? And risky if you're innocent because their whole job is to trip you up and make you look guilty. So he's got on the stand, he's well-dressed, he's calm, he's cooperative, he's ready to tell another version of his high seas saga. He evolved the story once more, let's say. The core claim was still that he'd killed these 2 crazed mutineer shipmates in self-defense, but now he was adding extra detail, I guess, because he realized the various questions people had about his story, and so he's elaborating or he's filling in some details to better explain the total carnage. So in his third version of events, Lapa said that upon noticing that something was wrong, he and the ship's helmsman, one of the crew, teamed up to investigate below deck. So I don't know whether they heard something or whatever, but they supposedly, him and this ship's helmsman, went down to the workshop and found the captain's murdered body, basically. So there'd already been a fight. Lapan's implication was that the other 2 Russian sailors, the supposed mutineers, had murdered the captain. So before Lapa and this helmsman supposedly could react, the mutineers ambushed them. And Lapa managed to flee, but tragically the helmsman was caught and killed by the pair. Lapa then claimed that he witnessed the 2 mutineers chase down and fight with the ship's cook, because remember there was a cook, up on the deck, killing him as well. Now, Lapa was the last man standing against these 2 axe murderers, right? So I guess this version is more believable as it doesn't involve him fighting off 2 axe-wielding Russians on his own. But then he describes how he hid at the bottom of the ladder and lay in wait as the bloodthirsty duo came looking for him. One by one, he launched a surprise attack and picked them off, killing them in a final last confrontation.
With what, like the axes that they had or something?
Yes, I think he managed to retrieve the axes from them and then kill them with their own axes.
I mean, it is more believable that a fight broke out, he hid, and he knew that he was going to be next, or thought he was going to be next, so he just attacked. But again, it's very bizarre that a fight would break out in such a short trip.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. So in the courtroom, he's telling this new story, similar but a little bit different in that it's trying to explain how he could kill 2 people that were clearly able to kill 3 people, you know? So he's obviously saying that he was not wanting to fight. He was doing it in self-defense. He had to survive. He explains that his initial lie about the fire, he was telling it out of fear. He was scared no one would believe him. It's like, you know what makes people not believe you? When you change your fucking stories. When you lie.
But people do weird things. Let's just still be like, it's possible.
Either story that he killed these mutineers or that he killed 5 people, either of those stories are really difficult to believe. So he says now on the stand in the courtroom, he wants to come clean, and this is the full honest story of what happened. Obviously, German prosecutors grilled him thoroughly because they wanted to highlight his inconsistencies, not even inconsistencies, his entire different stories, and also the improbabilities of some of the stuff. He also says, like, why was there no radio distress call? Like, there was, you know, enough of them that could not someone not have sent out a message, you know? Could 2 men really slaughter the entire crew of 6 people besides Lapin in mere minutes, only to be overpowered by Lapin alone? The physical evidence, like the distribution of blood and so forth, was hard to reconcile with any scenario that Lapin told. Like, they didn't match up with the stories. You know how they can say from like blood spatter, whatever, the first attack happened here and then it moved on to here and then the victim dragged themselves here, whatever. So like nothing on the boat was matching up with what Lapin was saying. And the only explanation was that there was a wholesale massacre on the boat. But there was also no direct proof that Lapin killed all these people either. Either story was sort of circumstantial. There was no eyewitness left, like I said. The recovered body of Captain Telkman was too decomposed to provide any sort of forensic evidence by the time it was found. The authorities never recovered the alleged murder weapons, these axes, which likely just went to the bottom of the sea. The case essentially boiled down to whether the judge believed Lapin's story or not, whether the prosecution had enough evidence to disprove it beyond reasonable doubt. So on the 3rd of February, 1995, the trial culminated in a verdict that shocked some observers. The Osnabrück court acquitted Andrei Lapa of all murder charges.
What? But he's admitted to 2 of them in self-defense minimum, potential arson, and getting rid of bodies.
So he was acquitted of the murder charges.
Right, okay, sorry, okay.
Yeah, because if his story is to be believed, he killed 2 people in self-defense. That's not murder. And he did commit arson, but we'll get onto that. The judges stated, despite very suspicious circumstances, the evidence was simply insufficient to convict him of killing the 5 men. So it kind of sounds like, mate, we think you did it, but we just can't prove it. So it must have been super frustrating to everyone involved, you know. So even though I truly believe it's right that we should not convict people if there is reasonable doubt, it does mean that sometimes guilty people walk free. But is that a fair compromise to stop innocent people going to jail? As one German official lamented, despite all our efforts, we have not found the truth in this case. The court could not conclusively unravel what happened on the Bärbel that day, and so by law, they had to give Lapin the benefit of the doubt. Lapin walked out of the court a free man, the only person alive who knew the fate of the Bärbel crew, and he wasn't talking anymore. There was a small measure of accountability. Lapin didn't get off completely scot-free because he had admitted to setting the fires on the ship, even in his own telling. So the court convicted him of attempted arson and handed down a 1-year suspended sentence for the offense. So I'm going to say he did get off scot-free. So essentially, he was found guilty of trying to destroy the ship after the fact, but not of murdering anyone. The 60,000 Deutsche Marks was also a point of contention. Since the prosecution couldn't definitively prove that the cash was stolen, versus, remember his story about it being money from religious icon sales, the court even had to let him keep the money after the trial.
But he said that was his money to begin with, but did he then, after the fact, changed it and said that he took the money?
But at this point, he's clearly saying it's his money again. So he walked away not only cleared of mass murder, but also with a small fortune that he had been found with. So you can imagine there was outrage. For the families of the missing crew, it was a bitter pill. They got no justice, no answers, not even the bodies of their loved ones to bury, except for the captain. So the presiding judge openly acknowledged that the unsolved nature of this case, essentially saying that the truth had not been found and perhaps would never be found. And Lapin was free, and the Bärbel murders were officially left unsolved. So the aftermath is also bonkers. What do you do after being acquitted of allegedly butchering all of your shipmates on the high seas? Well, if
I've got an answer. I've got an answer. Can I just say, you have a quiet life, go somewhere quiet, just live out your life and don't talk about it ever again. Is that what he did?
No. He had the audacity to ask for his old job back. So this is so absurd. He applied for a position on the Bärbel again after his acquittal. So whether he was guilty of these murders or not, I still find it fucking bizarre that he's applied to work on the ship that is now owned by the widow of the man that was killed in this whole thing. And at the very least, he admits that he put this man's body in the ocean, which is incredibly offensive, even if you didn't kill that man. And also, why would you want to be back on this boat where this horrible thing happened?
That's my biggest thing, the trauma and going back onto that boat. And you can't say, oh, it would help with closure. You've killed 2 people. You've witnessed other brutality. You've got rid of bodies. And how did you get rid of bodies with no blood on you? I don't understand that. Did he have a shower? Did he scrub himself?
Maybe he had a couple of days. He had time. So even if his story is to be believed, it's still fucking bizarre. So, like I said, the Bärbel herself now owns the boat because it was her husband's boat and he was the captain. And Lapin would have known this. So he's applying for a job for the widow. Unsurprisingly, he did not get the job.
Oh, I would have given him that job and I would have made sure something happened.
I also find it weird that he's still a sailor because I imagine a whole bunch of people are going to be nervous about being on a boat with this guy. So the boat, the Bärbel, it was repaired and it was eventually sold. And apparently it's still sailing to this day, but under a different name and obviously with a different owner. So I thought it was bad luck to rename a boat, but I kind of understand why they did it in this case because I feel like they've had enough of their bad luck already. So what happened to Andrei Lapa after this? After 1995, he returned to his homeland, which was at this point newly post-Soviet Russia. For a long time, he did keep a low profile, but Danish reporters managed to track him down years later. And it's an almost crazy twist of fate. They discovered that he is working in the field of maritime rescue. The man who was once plucked from a life raft in the sea became a rescue diver and sea rescue official in Russia. By the 2000s, Lapin was reportedly working at a sea rescue station. One report placed him at the Arctic Rescue Center in Murmansk, and later as a government rescue diver with hundreds of missions under his belt. So I do like, whatever the story is, I do like the fact that he's probably saved a lot of lives afterwards as a rescue diver.
And you could imagine that would be something that someone who's gone through trauma might want to do, as also like a thank you for him being rescued, even though we know that he wasn't really fussed. And you can kind of see that would be a potential natural route.
Yeah. Or does he have a guilty conscience and he's trying to make amends or something? This is one of those cases where I go back and forth constantly. So in 2018, on the 25th anniversary of the Bärbel case, a Danish newspaper even managed to get a telephone interview with Lapin. At this point, he was in his 50s. He's a married father of 2, and he still stands by his story of self-defense. He also expresses zero remorse about what happened, which, if his story is true, then yes, why would he need to show remorse? You know, he would have, in his story, done nothing wrong, apart from arguably getting rid of loved ones' bodies by throwing them
killing 2 people in self-defense.
Yeah. He said, this is his words, "It's not fun to have to kill. I would rather have avoided it." He did acknowledge that he feels sorry for the families of those who died. But again, in quotes, "I do not regret it. If I had not killed those 2, I would not be alive today." So when I read that, I was like, fucking hell, imagine he is telling the truth and no one believes him. How shit that would be. You've gone through this horrendous thing, and then on top of that, no one believes you and thinks you've killed 5 people, for no reason or for money or whatever. So he believes what he did was necessary. And, he's confessing to killing the 2 mutineers, which is what he confessed to in his second and third story and in court. And because of double jeopardy, which is a thing in Germany where you can't be tried for the same crime twice, even if evidence comes out, which I don't know what that evidence would be, he can't be tried for these murders again. So the families of Heinrich Telkman and the other 4 men, who I've not named yet, I'm going to tell you that it's Mikhail Mikhailov, Vladislav Bogdan, Viktor Varenko, and Anatoly Smolyak. There's little comfort. There's no definitive answers, and in most cases, no bodies to mourn. The Bärbel case remains one of modern maritime history's eerie unsolved mysteries. No one was convicted of the murders, and technically the case is unsolved but closed. Unofficially, virtually everyone who followed the saga believes Lapin got away with something terrible on the North Sea that August, and the lack of closure has spawned endless debate. Was Lapin a cunning killer motivated by greed, a psychopath who saw an opportunity at sea, or could there be a kernel of truth in his tale of mutiny? Perhaps a fight did break out and spiral out of control, with Lapin being the only survivor. And he has been steadfast in his account since court, but the full truth may never surface. The end.
Okay. That was brilliant. I have lots of questions, and I'm going between innocent and guilty, and then did something, and then in between the two. So, do we know anything about why the mutiny, like what he said, the mutiny, why it took place?
Apparently about wages.
Yeah, oh, that's right. You did say wages.
And working conditions.
Okay, and it was against the captains. So, let's say for a minute, those 2 Russian guys argued with the captain. I could only imagine that would happen in a situation where they've worked with the captain before, or there's other work going on and they've not been paid, or I couldn't imagine there'd be like mutiny over just that one trip. So I imagine it's a bigger thing.
I imagine they came to the UK together, on the boat. So they've already at least worked for those couple of days together, right? And potentially they've worked previously, that was the captain's crew. So maybe they've worked together for years. Who knows? I didn't find very much information about that, how long the different people knew each other, worked together. And, people do kill each other for less on land. Everything seems a bit amplified on a boat because, like you say, you're a little bit more isolated and whatever. But this is such a short journey. Much of the journey that they'd already done was literally along the Thames. So you'd see land on both sides. Like you know what I mean? That's a little boat trip up the river. That's not like...
It's a day trip.
So they were on open water, whatever, and isolated. The North Sea isn't even that big. It's not like they're crossing the Atlantic or the Pacific. So again, it just seems like bizarre that on such a short trip you would lose your rags so much over wages.
I agree, but then I suppose, and I'm just trying to give everyone the benefit of the doubt here, but I don't know what it's like being a Russian seaman, and maybe they desperately needed money. Like, I don't know, maybe they did fight with the captain over wages. Let's say that happened. Let's say they fought with the captain over wages. They damaged things in his room. They said it was like turned over, didn't you? Like the captain's cabin was all turned over. So maybe they did do that and they get really pissed off. And well, actually, they could have turned on the other ones because they thought that they were going to tell on them. So you can imagine, right, we're going to get rid of you. And maybe the Russians' plan was to take the boat, deliver the rapeseed in Germany. Well, they could still legitimately take the boat to Germany, drop off the rapeseed, and their plan, had they lived, maybe they would have got rid of the rest of the crew, say that they fell overboard, clean it up, God knows. So you can imagine that that is potentially a true story. The thing that sticks with me is the changing of the stories. It's not actually the fight over wages. It's the fact that he changed his story from, there was a fire broke out, I had to escape, I had to kill these two, to slightly then changing it again in court. That's the bit that I just don't get. And the fact that he changed the money aspect twice and then still got the money.
That's his credibility out the window because he's lied. I also think we got to think about the time period, because obviously the 90s was 5 minutes ago because we're so young, but it definitely was a time much earlier in terms of forensics and in terms of knowledge of forensics. Now we all know about fingerprints and blood spatter and whatever from watching like detective shows and true crime. And obviously all forensics has developed so much since then. I don't know. I go back and forth on this one. I think, like when parents are suspected of killing their kids, I just think, fucking hell, either you are one evil bastard, or this is the worst thing that's ever happened to you, and it's been compounded.
And it's awful. Yeah.
Compounded by the fact that you're suspected of doing it, So like I said, when I was in school, I remember being 9 years old in Mr. Tattershall's class, and he told us the story of the Mary Celeste, and I was fascinated. And I just have a little bit of a like boat fascination thing.
See, I don't know the story of the Mary Celeste.
It's like an old-timey boat where basically the whole crew just vanished. So they found the boat and there was just no one on the boat. And they just have never been able to figure out what happened. So
it's like that. Is it Malaysian Airlines plane that went down?
Yeah, where they just
found it.
Where things just disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonkers. So what's your thought on what actually happened? Or what's the most credible?
I literally, like I said, if he had said pirates came, killed us all, I managed to sneak off and escape, I would believe that so much more than any of the other stories that he came out with. But I don't know. I just feel like we don't have enough evidence to make a decision either way, which is why he got acquitted for murder, obviously, because there's not enough.
And there was no evidence on the captain's body.
No, nothing that wasn't.
And that no was forensic stuff on him because he did a couple of days, hadn't he? So,
yep. So that's the whole point. There will never be enough evidence to prove it either way. And even if they do find evidence that he was responsible, he can't be done for it because of double jeopardy.
I want to see like the court transcripts and what he's actually said, because this is just bonkers. Like, I actually want to look at his first confession, or not confession, the first thing he's like, word for word, the first time when he was taken out of the boat and what he said, compared to when he changed his story. Yeah. And I want to look at every single line and just double check it and just go, well, how can that be? You said this. Because I just don't understand how the biggest thing for me is how he got to keep the money when he said originally it was his, which definitely, that could be yours for selling religious relics.
But then he's still claiming that he managed to escape. Well, I guess at this point in his final story, everyone's dead. So he probably would have the opportunity to go and get his money. Yeah. And it's a significant amount of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, they couldn't prove that he had stolen the money. So.
But then I thought he said that he did take the money and he was going to share it. So I don't understand how he managed to get it.
Because in court, he was going back to saying it was his money. It's bizarre. It's such a bizarre story. It makes me go back and forth and back and forth.
Do we still think he's doing search and rescue stuff now?
Well, he was as of 2018-ish. So.
Okay, so 7 years ago.
Yeah. I hope he's not the mass murderer because he's free.
Yeah.
I hope it's not him. I hope his story is true, or some version of his story is true, because otherwise someone who killed 5 innocent people has just been allowed to live their life. Yeah.
Oh my God. And you know what? If he is innocent and he's doing the job that he's doing, good for him. And, he probably doesn't want, if he's innocent, doesn't want people to know about his life because he's married with 2 kids, you said. So he's probably not going to want to talk about it.
Yeah, so basically, there's not a huge amount of this case in English because a lot of it is in Danish and German and in Russian. But apart from the boat leaving from London, it's not happened in a English-speaking location, which means that a lot of the sources were not in English. So not much on there, but I've put all of my sources in the show notes. There's quite a few because it's a lot of articles and stuff. I did try a little bit of like Google translating, but it makes me nervous because I'm always still...
Yeah, it could come up with, he said he was innocent, but actually he said he was guilty, or vice versa.
Or he said he was a tree made of chocolate. You know what I mean? So
chocolate tree, can you imagine? Something out of Willy Wonka.
Yeah, I'm hungry is what I'm telling you.
Are you off to make soup?
I'm going to have soup, yeah.
I'm having soup too.
But before I go into soup, I use soup as a verb. I want to do our Inquisition.
Our palate cleanser. 5 deaths, followed by a tattoo.
This one I'm so excited about because it's Leanne's tattoo, and Leanne is in my skate group. So I do like...
Oh, I love that.
It's such a pretty tattoo. I think it's on her bicep.
Inside arm, yeah. Bicep, yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's like a line drawing, like a fine line drawing of a woman's face in profile. And the lines go into like flowers. Looks like, what's that flower called? Hibiscus?
Maybe, yeah.
You know, like a tropical flower. It's fucking gorgeous.
Is that mango fruit?
Yes, it is a mango, because I'll just read this and then I'll share it again. This tattoo is a reflection of my memory I have of my granddad filling my suitcase with mangoes from his tree in Jamaica after a trip to go and see him in 2013. When I got home and opened my suitcase, the smell and warmth that came out was one of the best things I'd ever experienced, and it stayed with me. So this tattoo is a celebration of that memory. Oh.
And is that her profile from the side?
It definitely could be her. But yeah, so she must be have origins in Jamaica. So I totally love that.
It's so nice, like reaching up. You can almost smell it though, can't you? When you give that description, and like, you know, there's like the 2 different types of mango. The really big mango, and then there's a smaller one. I don't know the difference, but I can imagine, you know, the smell. It'd be amazing.
Yeah. And it definitely gives off like Caribbean tropical vibe. You know, I love the meaning of your tattoo, like tattoos that sort of reflect your heritage as well.
Yeah, you've got some of those. You've got some of those, haven't you?
Yeah, I also have Super Mario, but...
There we go.
But this one is stunning. And Leanne, I can't wait to see you on Sunday for skate.
Yay!
That was our Inquisition.
Love it, love it, love it.
Right. I am going to go and have soup with cheese. You?
I'm going to have chicken soup that I made with fresh bread that I bought this morning from a lovely deli.
Great. I love you. I love our sexy listeners. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Like this episode? Want more? Come visit me, Isla, at Crimley Good Books in the heart of York. We're an independent bookshop dedicated entirely to crime. From cosy mysteries to gritty thrillers, historical whodunits to juicy true crime. We've got signed editions, special gifts, and plenty of recommendations for your next obsession. We also host a bunch of awesome author events. Can't make it in person? Visit us online at crimleygoodbooks.co.uk.